You can use it just the way you use your net cards. So maybe if you want to be listening, you want to communicate between the servers and clients. So I'll demonstrate it better. And you can also use the socket module to conduct a packet sniffing or packet injection. So we're going to display that shortly. So let me just quickly explain the syntax. This is how you call up the syntax. First and foremost, you need to import the socket modules. You need to import the module first. So after the importation, this is how you declare this can be any variable. So this is how you declare the functions. The functions take 3 parameters. So the function is socket.socket. So you use 3 parameters to call the functions. The first parameter is socket_family. The second parameter is socket_type, and the last parameter is protocol. But this last parameter can be optional. You can leave it out, because if you leave it out, you assume a protocol to be 0. You need to import the sockets. And let me explain the socket_family. So the socket_family can be AF_Unix or AF_INET. And the socket type, this can either be sock_string or sock_diagram. So the protocol module can be left out. So that can be optional. So now we explain the different architecture, the different methods that can be called. We have 3 different methods. We have the server socket methods, we have the client socket methods, we have the general socket methods. The server client methods, in the client server architecture, there's one centralized server that provides service, and many clients receive service from that centralized server. The client also do the request to server. A few important server socket methods in this architecture are as follows. So we first and foremost start with socket.bind methods. So this bind method addresses the host name, port name to the socket. The socket.listing method. This method basically listens to the connection made to the socket. It starts the TCP listener. Backlog is an argument of this method, which specifies the maximum number of queued connections. Its minimum value is 0 and maximum value is 5. Let's explain the socket.accept method. This will accept TCP client connection. The pair con that stands for connection and address is the return value pair of this method. Here, con is a new socket object used to send and receive data on the connection. An address is the address bound to the socket. Before using this method, the socket bind and socket listing method must be used. So this goes arms together. So let's talk about the clients. We just explained the server socket methods. So the client's socket methods. For this client socket method, the client in the client server architecture requests the server and receives service from the server. For this, there's only one method dedicated for client. Socket.connect. This method actively intimates server connection, or in simple words, this method connects the client to the server. The argument address represents the address of the server. So let's talk about the general socket methods. In a general socket method, other than client and server socket methods, there are some general socket methods which are very useful in socket programming. The general socket methods are as follows. The first one is socket.recv. So you now indicate the buff size. As name implies, this method receives the TCP message from socket. The argument buff size stands for buffer size. and define the maximum data this method can receive at any one time. So this, I mean, you need to be very careful. So if the size is small and you are sending a lot of data to your program and all from part of it. So let's continue. We also have the socket.send in bracket bytes. So the method is used to send data to the socket, which is connected to the remote machine. The argument byte will give the number of bytes sent to the socket. So then we also have the socket.receive from, and the parameters are data and address. This method receives data from the socket. To pair data and address value is returned by this method. Data defines the received data, and address specify the address of socket and sending the data. So as we have the socket.receive from, we also have the socket.send to. So the way you use it is also similar. And we have the socket.close. This method will close the socket. And the socket that get host name, this method will return the name of the host. Socket.send all data. This method send all data to the socket, which is connected to the remote machine. It will carelessly transfer the data until an error occurs, and if it happens, then it uses socket close method to close the data. So now let's talk about the usage. I'm going to do some very so let's try this together. So that's the reason why I did a screenshot on the slide. So this is simple client server using a TCP. So let's try this. You can open your Kali. After opening your Kali, let me navigate to my Kali. So we are doing it together. Okay, I need to enter my password right. So for you to use your socket, you need to import the socket module. This is very important. Then you declare just like the way we you declare. Sorry, I've not done my. I need to enter my Python shell before importing anything. Sorry for that. Bye. So let's display the variable. The variable can be anything, but let's say TCP socket in this case. So remind you, for you to declare the socket function, use socket the socket, and you initialize the parameters. So the top parameters can be, which is the protocol, can be ignored. So to assume the default value of 0 if you don't put this. So let's do the AF because it's a so let's do the string. Then import this, you can check out import this. You don't see the socket, right? What's going on? Let me close this and start all over again. All right. Why this thing is let's do Python. This is the attribute module. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. I think you need to be careful about the spelling. You know, it's uppercase. You need to be so mindful of that, right? So let's do the TCP binding now. Let's bind it. You can bind it to any ports. Your choice. Let's just do port 8000 and do port 1234 or any port that is not. I think I made some mistake right there. Let me see whether I copy the code somewhere so that I think I'm typing it wrong. Right. Need to be careful of the typo. So let's listen to two TCP address. So you do sub. All right. So this will listen to only two connections. So let's be ready to accept the connection. So that's it. You can see that we've created like kind of a list now. So it's ready to accept the connection from the client. So this is create a server list now. So now that means that you need to open a new terminal still on your Kali, and you create a netcard for another. You can do NC. Okay, before I do it, you need to check the IP address for your machine. My machine IP address is 192.168.40.9. So yours might be different from mine. So please, that's very, very important. So on your clients, so I've opened up another card which serve as my clients. You do a netcards in last class, previous class we talked about the netcard. I know that last time we developed from netcards. So be very careful. Make sure that you specify your own IP address, and if your IP changes, please take note of that. So you can see that immediately I establish a list now from the netcards. You can see that this refining me. You can see that this shell is responding. Let me display the clients and see this is the client's address. Let's check the IP whether it corresponds to the. You can see that the IP is the same thing with the other IP here. So let's check out for the ports. So that's a port. So what we'll be able to establish now. So that's our socket. You can use socket to create the TCP socket to interact with your client's machine. So now let's do this from our. You can see that our machine is ready for instruction. So let's just from our machine, you can say from my explanation, I told you that you can use a client.send to send information. So my machine is ready to accept information like servers. Let's say do client.send from the server. You can just this is first Python class at will. You can just type anything, something interesting. So it return. Let's go back to our client. You can see. So that's how to create a TCP connection between client and server. Now, let's see whether we can receive data from the client. For you to receive data from the client, you need to specify the byte number. You know, mind you, in my explanation, I told you that you can use client.RECV functions. So let's do that from here. I can just create a function with my servers. I can just create a function called I will create a variable rather called data. Let's create a variable called data. RCV means receive. Let's specify the total number. Sorry, I think oh, it's not an string, don't mind. It's supposed to be without a quote. So my client is ready to receive my data, my server is ready to receive information from the client. Let's type in anything there. Let's say, are you there? So you can see that it has executed there. Let's print out the display the variable by typing data. So that's how to establish a TCP clients, a server client TCP with your socket methods. So you can create a server-side program to establish a connection between the server and clients. So what we did, we were able to do that. So this is another, let me quickly explain this. This is another, you can try this and also make sure that as classwork, as your lab work. So let me explain the server-side program. So for us to create a connection between server and client, we need to write two different Python programs, one for server and the other for clients. So it's very, very important. The server-side program, in this server-side program, we will use the socket.bind method, which binds it to a specific IP address known as we demonstrated earlier, and port so that it can listen to incoming requests on that IP. Later, we use socket.listing method, which puts the server into the listening mode. The number says for as the argument of the listing socket. In our previous example, I used two, but this time around, I say I use one here. So we will send a message to the client by using the socket.send. So use the socket.send to send a message. Use the socket towards the end, you use the socket.accept and socket.close method for initiating and closing your connection as we demonstrated. So this is another variant of how to establish a server-side how to establish a connection between the server and the client. So this is a typical example of a client-side program. This is a server-side program. So you can use this as a typical example of a client-side program. So make sure that you port your socket. Specify the ports. Port can be anything. Just make sure that the port is not being used by any other program. So you can specify the maximum number of bytes you can take. And our previous example, we used 2048. This. So please try this and see how it works. And so after running the server-side program, your output should look like this. So I will give you some time to try the two program, the server-side program, and make sure that it works. So then you can also try something much more interesting. You can create a project for yourself based on what you want. So that's how to write a server-side and client-side program using socket programming module on Python. So if you do then before you establish your connection, you must check out your IP so that because IP can be dynamic, right? So if everything is okay, this is what you're supposed to get. Now, if you want to establish a connection between server and client, we need to write two different. I think I've explained that. You can try this. This is a simple port scan. It's very simple and very straightforward. This is a simple port scan. So I tried it on my loopback IP. So if result is equal to 0, that means the port is open. If result is not equal to 0, that means the port is not open. So please try that and let me. I will give you 5 minutes to try this simple script. This is a simple scanner leveraging on the socket model. This is just to scan for a single IP address. So if you want to do that for multiple port number, or you want to do something that is much more interesting, so that you want to write a simple script, so that you not just be a hard-coded script. So you can try this. I give you like another 10 minutes. Then your lab, I've tried as much as possible to develop what you work with on this week lab. Take your time. I have some sample scripts on the lab as well. Look through the scripts, see what you can do. So the lab, you should be able to finish the lab within 1 hour or max 1 hour, 30 minutes. But please practice this class exercise and make sure that you are very comfortable with the socket programming session. So you can comment, you can leverage your comment, so that if you want to do the script later, so that you have an understanding of each line module. So if you want to resolve it, a simple IP address or domain. For example, let's presume that, okay, I want to, let's if you want to, if you need a particular IP address, so let me first and foremost, sorry, let's try this together. But this time around, I'm going to use, let's end this. Because if you don't end this, it will, let's end this. Consider that when I end this. Okay, let me. Okay, let's let me see whether my website is going right. Sensor speeds. I think it's connecting right. So what I want to do, this is the IP address for my let me go back to my Python module. We are working on it. Trying to, okay, let's do this. Let's import our sockets module first. You can use this function, socket dot get host by address. And that I made a spelling mistake right here. Sorry. Don't mind me. ADDR. Let's do the import again. Unknown hosts. Maybe because I'm using available. I'm using a HA. My IP address dynamically change. So let's do get host by name instead of get hosts by name. I'll just specify because I use HA features on my AWS. I host this thing on AWS. So you can see that the IP has changed. So that's why I'm not getting the. So let's do by address. Hope the IP address will not have changed again. So the IP dynamically change every now and then. Hope that's not changed. Okay, to take time. Oh, sorry. I made a mistake, right? I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Oh, this thing has let's quit and start all over again. Import sockets. Range socket dot get host name, get host name, sorry, get host by name. I keep making this mistake, right? You can see that the IP address keeps is changing, is dynamically changing. So I may not be able to get the, if I say get by ID, might have changed before the command run. Because I'm using high availability, it cannot see the. So if it can't resolve the host name, it will tell you that the host name is unless let's do this for the local host. So you can see for the local host, we're able to resolve it. It's telling us is the loopback IP. So that's how to use the socket programming to do some further enumeration and fingerprinting. So you can see. So the reason I couldn't get there, you can, so your class will look for a host name. Maybe if you have a host name that is not dynamically changing, like the IP address of the host that is not dynamically changing, like mine, and try that. You should be able to do that in the next 2 to 3 minutes. I will like 2 to 3 minutes before you proceed.